want to now show you this next pop-up card, which is called Blooming Marvellous. It depends how you enunciate that, doesn't it? It's either Blooming Marvellous or Blooming Marvellous. So it's up to you, whichever. But you can see I've decorated the front of the card like this. So I've used the mats and layers and the sentiment. And then when we open this one up, we have this fabulous box of tulips that opens up and stands proud. Isn't that fab? And then we've got another sentiment on the inside, and then it just all falls flat. It's clever, isn't it? I love things like this. Right, so instructions. Let's start and go through the instructions one at a time. Cut the card and fold the score line as a valley fold. So that's exactly what we're going to do. So we're going to fold it over. And the reason we call it a valley fold is because it creates a V. Okay? If it was a mountain fold, it would create a peak. So I can then open that back out again. Next one is cut the flower box and fold all the score lines as mountain folds. Okay, so this is the flower box, and you don't have to, you're not going to write on yours, obviously. That's why I would suggest you cut it and then do what you need to do with it, and then cut the next one and do what you need to do with that. So we're going to have all mountain folds right the way along to the other side. And we're going to score these as mountain folds as well, so they're going to go over like that. Okay, and then it says glue the tab in place to create a rectangular box. Right, so we are going to skin off that glue and just get my tweezers just to get that little, I've got skin just formed inside because it's quite warm in this room today. Right, so I'm going to just put glue onto the tab. Wipe across with my finger to get rid of any excess, and then glue that in place to make a rectangular box. So I'm going to just make sure that I'm lining up the edge of this tab. The perforation line on the tab is lined up to the edge of the side of the card. Okay, so I'm just going to make sure that that's pressed down, and then we will have a rectangular box, and the sides are supposed to pop out that way. Okay, so because when I first did that I thought they're going to go in surely, but they don't, they go out. Okay, so I'm going to put that to one side to dry, and I'm going to put the card blank to one side because we're going to work on the next bit. So it then says cut a set of flower supports. No, it doesn't. It says cut tulips and glue the petals to the stems. So you want 7 tulips. I've already done 6 of them, and I'm just going to show you. So you get this, which is a stalk, and then 3 petals for each tulip. So middle one goes on first. This is how I do it. It's up to you how you do yours. You could change the flower to a different flower if that's what you wanted to do. And that is going to go into the top of the stem like that. I almost think it's worth making these as prototypes, because you're not gonna, you know, if you go wrong like I did on one of them, and if you're not watching these in order, you'll come across it. It's the bird's nest one. You're not wasting card then. Do you know what I mean? You're not wasting your best coloured card. So one goes to the left and the other petal goes to the right, and we then have our 7 tulips. Okay, so I'm just going to leave that one there just to dry a little bit. Then it says cut a set of flower supports and glue each tulip stem in between the guidelines. So these are your flower supports, and it might be quite difficult to see on the camera, but there's 1, 2, 3 guidelines on one, and there are 4 guidelines on the other, and your tulip stem is going to go in between each one of those guidelines. Okay, so you'll have 3 tulips on one strip and 4 on another. At the bottom of each tulip stem there's a perforation line. Okay, you need to make sure that that perforation line lines up to the bottom of your flower support. Okay, so I'm going to stick one down and then I'm going to lift it up so that you can see it again. So the best way to do it, I found, was to put glue in between the guidelines and then take the stem, line the perforation line up, this first one up from the bottom to the bottom of that piece of card, and then you've got another perforation line that will line up at the top. Okay, so we're going to press that down. If I lift that up now, you can be able to see. So you've got your flower support here, then you've got your first perforation line so the tab hangs over the edge, and you've got a second perforation line that runs just across there. Okay, you're going to do that with all of them. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm just going to make sure that my tulips are straight, because tulips naturally, they do have this thing, don't they, about wanting to flop over tulips. They're really, stems are it's almost like the flower heads are too heavy for the stems. So I'm going to just take my time and get these in the right place. So like I say, you've got one flower support that has 4 sets of guidelines on, and another one that has 3 on. Okay, so just take your time with this and make sure that you get them nice and straight. Get rid of any excess glue that we don't need. That. And then the next one, a little bit less glue on that one. And then put that one there. So all that bottom score lines are lining up to the base of the bottom edge, and top perforation lines line up to the top. Right, next one. So these 3 can now go into here. So that's going to go on there. And that's going to stick onto there like that. Okay. The next one's going to go in there like that. Next one is going to go onto here like that. Way around that way, Melanie. Right, there we go. Right, so those are now my flower supports, and I've got 2 rows. Okay. Let's have a look. With the tulips facing forward, slot, right, so you've got to then cut, it then tells you, I'm trying to work out which instruction I'm on. So we've done the tulips. It now says cut a flower stand and fold the score lines as a valley, a mountain and a valley. So this is your flower stand, okay? So we're going to fold the first one as a valley, the next one as a mountain, and the bottom one as a valley. And that's going to create your little flower stand like that, okay? Then it says, with the tulips facing forward, slot the bottom tabs on the stems through the slots in the flower stand. Fold the stems under the flower stand and glue in place, okay? So we've got one side, the top side will have 4 slots in, because your 4 is going to go behind the 3, and your front one will have your 3 in. So let's do the back one first, okay? So we're going to slot these with the tulips facing forward, nearly. We're going to slot those tabs through the holes in the flower stand like that, okay? And then the easiest way to do it is to turn it over, flatten the stand out because you can, okay, because it's not glued together, and then you will see that your perforation line, when you pull your tulips down, just peeps through along that edge. And then you're going to put a little bit of glue on each one of those tabs like that, and you're going to fold those back or forwards. It doesn't really, well, no, I would fold them back because otherwise they're going to get in the way of the perforation line. Okay, so we're going to fold these back like that, and if you've got a little bit left, you know, a little bit sticking further forward, just cut it off. okay? Pop-up police aren't going to come round and say, why is that not sitting there? Nobody's going to know. It's going to be hidden, okay? Right, so if I put this back into the flower stand form, you can see there that those are now going to be your back layers, okay? So we're going to do exactly the same thing with the front one now. So we're going to make sure that the tulips are facing forward. We're going to slot them into those 3 slots like that. We're going to turn it over and just flatten that out, and then we're going to put, in fact I'm just going to snip a little bit off my tabs because they're a little bit long there, so I'm just going to snip that away, okay? And then I'm going to put glue onto those tabs like that, okay? And then we're going to fold on that perforation line, and we're just going to fold and push your tulips down as far as they will go, and then just fold those tabs back, okay? Like that. Just press firmly till that glue takes. So we've now got our flower stand, and if we just refold those score lines now as the valley, mountain, valley, we now have our flower stand that is going to go inside our box like that, okay? Now, my advice to you would be to, on your tulips here, I got Josh, who designed this, to put another perforation line there so that you can fold your tulips forward, all right? But we'll do that once the box is in place. Because they want to naturally fall backwards, I got another perforation line in that you can fold forwards. But I'm going to put this inside the card first. So it tells you to put glue, so let's go off the instructions. I've done all that bit, so now with the tabs facing out, so the tabs on your flower stand, so you've got them facing out, one there and one there, they're not tucked underneath, they're facing out. Glue the filled flower stand onto the card base, aligning it with the inner guidelines. So you've got 2 lots of guidelines on here. When you cut your card, you'll see them. You've got ones that have got right angles, and you've got a set that aren't right angles. They're still there, but they're not a right angle. All right, so they're the ones that we're going to line the tabs up to. So we're going to put glue on the underside of our tabs, and put it on the tabs, not on the card base, because you actually no idea where you need to put the glue if you try and do that. So put it onto the tab like that, and onto the other one. I've just got a little bit of excess on one of those tabs, so I'm just going to snip it away so that the tab that I am gluing down is going to sit flush on the card, okay? Right, like that. So I'm going to then position those, and I'm going to use this guideline here to position those in place, okay? So it'll be quite close to the other guidelines as well, but you're just lining up the corner of the tab with the corner of this little guide. And again, it will be slightly narrower so you can actually see it. Right, so I've got one tab there, and I've got the other tab there like that, okay? Now at this point, let me have a look, can you glue that? No, I wouldn't glue it actually. So we've now got our tulips, okay, all facing in the right direction, stuck onto our card. The next instruction says, let's turn a piece of paper over. I do like doing this, it's like we're all together again, isn't it? I love it. Fold the box in half, making sure that the tabs are facing in. So again, these tabs on this box, you want them facing in, not out, and they're going to glue on top of the tabs on your flower stand. Put glue on the tabs and carefully slide the box over the tulips and glue in place using the outer guidelines. Okay, so let's put glue on our tabs again. We're making sure that they're facing in, and this way you don't see the workings when you open up the card. So we're going to put glue on those tabs. Like that. We're going to gently slide it over the flowers. So hold your flowers together like this and slot your box over the top. This was the easiest way to do it, and I know it doesn't look like it's the easiest way to do it, but trying to get glue onto a tab once if you put this down without the glue on, it's even trickier, trust me. So just take your time. You can stretch your box, remember. Make sure those little tulip petals aren't getting stuck into the detail. There we go. And then it will just drop down. And then you're going to line this, so you're going to make sure that it's rectangular. And you're going to line this up to the other guidelines. And it's quite difficult to film this for you just with a single camera, but it's what we've got today. So when we're on air, I'm going to do quite a few of these on air so that you can then see from overhead, but unfortunately over the eye we haven't got that kind of facility at the moment. So we do our best for you. Right, so I'm going to press those tabs down now, and that will actually give your flower stand some real stability now. And then I'm going to use that second perforation line. I'm just going to pull my flowers forward slightly so that they don't flop back. So I'm just going to bend them. They'll naturally want to bend because there's a perforation line on there, and then they all stand up like that. So you then end up with your box and your tulips. Let me just have a look at it from the front, that way around. Look, there you go. So you've then got your flower box. Now you'll do them in all sorts of different colours, okay? But when I spoke to you earlier about making sure that those tabs sat folding out, that's what I mean. So when you fold this over now, that box is going to fold flat inside there. Let it dry before you fold it, please. Trust me, I know, because I've made all the mistakes so that you don't have to necessarily make them. And there is your little pop-up box for your flowers, okay? Then you would decorate as you preferred. If you want to do mats and layers inside, you can do, but put them in before you put the box on top, otherwise your mats and layers won't fit. And that is your Blooming Marvellous card. And if I just bring in the one that I finished, the reason it's called that is because that's the sentiment that we've given you. And then when you open this up, your little box of tulips opens out, and somebody will keep that forever because it's just fabulous.